Going to a job interview can be scary. When was your last job interview and how did it make you feel? Did you walk out of that job interview confident? Well, my name is Dr. Christy Taylor. I'm a certified career and executive coach. And I like to say that I help the people who help the people. So if you're a change maker, if you're someone who's committed to making a difference in your community, to making an impact, then I'm the career coach for you. And today we're going to talk about when job interviews go wrong. And I'm going to give you 10 reasons or 10 mistakes to avoid during job interviews. Now, I like to caveat this stuff by saying that sometimes you're just not a fit for the organizational culture and you may have done everything right, but I don't think any of us are perfect, right? So even though we have that heart for change and we want to make a difference, I'm going to give you some tips to help you get to that next level and 10 mistakes to avoid during your job interview. So one is not being prepared. Nobody can be this overconfident that you don't take the time to look up the organization on the internet, just do a little bit of research. So going to an interview without researching the company, that's really your fault, right? So learn about the company and the role that you're applying for before you go to it. Also, just be very observant of the interview process because that's going to tell you a lot about the organization that you're working for. Because remember, in a previous video, I kind of pointed out that if we're going to be committed to making change, then that has to be reflected both internally and externally in the organization. Nobody want to work for an organizational culture that sucks or that doesn't like live by the standards or practices that they preach, right? So look at that and pay attention to that during the job interview process because the way that they treat you during the job interview process is the way that they're going to treat you once you become officially on board. So pay attention to that. Number two, did you arrive on time for the job? So you made the mistake of showing up to the interview late. Always plan to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. When I'm coaching clients one-on-one, I say that as early as 30 minutes. It's a little bit different when you are doing a virtual interview. Be prepared. Come online because look at this. I don't have perfect camera lighting, but I'm here and I'm talking to you today, right? So if I'm doing a virtual interview or a virtual event, if I'm running an event, I have people arrive 30 minutes early for sound check. If you're going to an interview, try to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early because something always goes wrong. Another tip for you if you're going to do a virtual interview is always have a backup plan. So if they send me a Zoom link and I'm interviewing for an event or even if I'm interviewing for a job, I'm always going to share a phone number or somewhere you can contact me personally because I want to make sure that if I log in 15 minutes early or 20 minutes early and something is not working, I'm going to immediately shoot a text or email to let them know, hey, I'm not late. It's a technical issue. And maybe we need to come up with an alternative means for the meeting because that has happened to me before, right? Having to do a job interview that was supposed to be done online, but having to do it on the phone. But the point is that you have a plan in place and you just quickly adjust it. So you're not prepared, you arrive late, you dressed inappropriately. Even for virtual interviews is what we do a lot of today. COVID really changed the game and a lot of us, we work from home, we work remote or telework, right? And if you're doing these interviews or meetings and you're not dressed appropriately, that makes an impression. Dress professional. Dress for the company culture because again, pay attention to how they're treating you during the interview, but in your research, kind of pay attention to how people dress. I say it's better to overdress at least that first time because you want to make a great impression. Pay attention to your body language too. Facial expressions. I'm one of those people who wear my emotions on my face, so I have to be very conscientious of how I come across. Not making eye contact, slouching, fidgeting during the job interview. You need to sit up. You need to pay attention. You need to make eye contact and you need to avoid being fidgety. I use my hands a lot. You see that in my videos, but I don't really consider that fidgeting because I kind of like it's a one-on-one conversation with you and I. So I've given you 4 reasons so far. You were late, not prepared, dressed inappropriately, and then didn't pay attention to body language. The other thing is number 5 is not listening. During the interview, yes, there are times you're going to talk. You're going to answer the questions concisely, professionally, but don't share too much information. Don't talk too much and make sure you're listening to the interviewer in terms of what they're listening for. It's okay to take notes during the interview process. You want to listen carefully. If you didn't understand a question, just politely ask them to repeat it. But sometimes this is how you know you kind of over talking, right? Because you'll start answering the interview question and right in the middle of that question, you kind of forget what was the direction of the question. I've done that even on podcast episodes I've been. I'm like, oh my God, I talk too much, right? So just know that for an interview, you just need to share the information that they're looking for, but you need to share it in a way that really concisely conveys the skills that you have and how it's aligned with the job. Now, I have to get on to people about this all the time in an interview prep coaching process. Do not, two things here, 6 and 7, give vague answers. Concise answers are one thing. Telling them exactly what they need to know or need to hear is another thing. But oversharing information can kind of put you in a difficult spot. So give answers that are not too general. Be specific. Make sure you provide specific examples to stay on topic. And then the other thing is a really big thing that's always a pet peeve of mine that consistently remind people of: do not make negative comments about your previous jobs or bosses. You never know. That's just a part of being professional, right? You got to stay positive, focus on what you learned from the past experiences. And if it didn't work out, you need to speak in a high level way to just kind of let them know, like, I learned from this situation and I'm going to move on, right? But do not speak negative about your job. Practice your answers before you go. Practice. Sit in a mirror and practice. I like to tell clients to use OtterBox or some type of sound recording device to allow yourself so that you can kind of hear yourself when you're giving these answers. So the last couple of points I want to share with you, number 8, is like not asking questions. They're always going to ask you in the end, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Like, just prepare a few questions, and it shouldn't be that question about the salary, right? Everybody knows not to answer that question. A lot of times, honestly, in the pre-interviews, if I'm talking to a recruiter, I'll just I'll ask those questions then. It just depends on the situation that you're in, but definitely not in the job interview. It's like, always have something that you researched about the company, and then, ask questions about their culture and organizational fit. Like, you really want to know about the organizational climate. Pay attention to how these companies are interviewing you. Are you doing a 50-page project? Are you doing free work for them? Right? Just be careful. So not asking questions, forgetting to follow up. I've said this a million times, even when we're talking about networking, right? Not sending thank you notes after the interview. Send a thank you note. Send a thank you note. And being overly nervous, right? Okay, so here's the thing. You know exactly what you need to do. You know your experience. You know what you put on that resume, and you need to be able to speak to it. So there's no point in being nervous. Now, one of the things I want you to do is, in terms of what you learned from this video, is I want you to think about any mistakes that you've made during interviews. I've definitely made my share, and I try to use all of that, right, to help clients, which is why I have my own system and why I'm going to be running the Brace for Impact workshop series. So I invite you to click the link below, join our Brace for Impact workshop series, because I want to position you for career success. There's no reason why someone like you who works in impact, who's committed to make a difference, should not be able to speak to the things that you have on your resume. You need to be able to show up and make a powerful impression on these employees. So the Brace for Success, our first workshop in this series, is going to be the workshop for you, and you can enroll for free. Click the link in our bio, and I look forward to seeing you there.